Hello, everyone. Welcome to Health, Beauty, and Purpose, the podcast dedicated to empowering women aged 30 to 50 to prioritize their health, help you to cultivate enduring wellness habits, and unlock success across all facets of life. And I'm your host, Dr. Cherish, and today we'll delve into a topic that resonates with many, the transformative power of weight loss. Did you know that a modest weight loss of just about 5% to 10% of your body weight can lead to significant health benefits, including improvements in blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and blood sugar control. Moreover, individuals who lose weight gradually, about 1 to 2 pounds per week, are more successful in maintaining that loss over time. For women in our age bracket, maintaining a healthy weight is crucial. Statistics indicate that 61% of women are classified as overweight or obese, with prevalence peaking at 69% among those aged 55 to 74. Excess weight not only impacts physical health, but also influences mental well-being, can impede the pursuit of personal and professional goals. That's my personal belief. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Leona, a remarkable woman who has successfully navigated her weight loss journey. Her story is not just about shedding pounds, it's about discovering a deeper why that fueled her commitment to health. Leona's experience underscores the importance of personal motivation and self-regulation in overcoming barriers to weight loss. Insights will not only inspire your own path to wellness, but it will help you with your general aspirations in life. Join us as we explore Leona's journey, the challenges she faced, the triumphs she celebrated, and let's uncover how prioritizing health can serve as a catalyst for achieving beauty and purpose in every aspect of our lives. So, Leona, you are welcome, my friend, and my longtime friend. Actually, I'm so excited that you get to be one of the main people that I start this podcast with. This is our fourth podcast, and we're believing God to be consistent because we are teaching consistency, teaching people that when you start, you have to be consistent. And I think your story really is going to help to bring that out. So without much ado, I'd like to welcome you to our podcast and just ask you to briefly introduce yourself.
Everyone, thank you so much, Dr. Cherish. It's such a privilege to be here. And before I even introduce myself, I just want to say massive thank you to you for going on this journey and just bringing these voices out that people so need to hear. I think our generation and our times are, places where people are just on a roll, go, and cannot stop or are not stopping to take a look back to see what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong and how can I re-navigate. So thank you for putting this together and thank you for doing this so selflessly. God bless you. My name is Leona, everyone, and I'm married to a handsome and a good Reverend Minister, Reverend Kojo Abban. So obviously, Leona Abban would be the name. We have 2 boys. I'm also, in terms of my secular job, I'm a country director or the country manager for an insurtech. Is an international insurtech that seeks to increase insurance penetration all around the globe and all around the world. So I represent the chapter in Ghana. We just bring impactful stories to people who are really below the bottom of the pyramid, people who need insurance but cannot buy. And so we make insurance available, pay claims and benefits, and bring them hope again for when eventualities occur. Thank you. I hope that's a good enough intro.
Yeah, country director. Yeah, it is. I tell you that, yes. My hypothesis, and you'll see this throughout, that if you're somebody that's able to get on top of your health, not just the other things but basically the health habits, and you're able to do it consistently, it really does affect other areas of your life. And we're trying to give this to women to make sure that with our busyness and our peculiarities with children and all the things that we have to deal with, if we're able to prioritize ourselves, it will make a difference and we will achieve our goals. So, Leona, my first question for you, just getting right to it, is what was the moment or event that made you decide to lose weight? This is a big question because I think many people are not finding this. This is discussing the why, it's like at least what is it? That was the event that made you decide. I think people say they want to lose weight, but they haven't decided. So this is a good question. I'm looking forward to your response.
Thanks, Dr. Cherish. And as you go on about the word decide, I'm asking myself, did I decide? But I think, yeah, at a point I did. But let me backtrack a little. I was that one girl who in your class would always be found as, the skinniest. And there were two of us like that in our class and in primary school. And we used to tease each other. She would say she was far bigger than me. And I'd say, no, I'm way bigger than you. But that put me on a journey where I wanted to see how big I could grow. So I kind of put myself on that path. And yeah, very, very, interesting. But yeah, I don't know why I even did it. But I'd measure my arms and I'd write and I'd give myself a target for by next week, I should be there, just trying to get a little, yeah, I did that. And unfortunately for me, I never realized that I was putting myself on a journey of possibly no return because now when I started getting out of shape and just growing on the weight, I couldn't stop myself and I couldn't stop, the course that I put myself on. And it did take years. I recall it was only in level 100 university that I noticed that I'd become so huge, my thighs were rubbing against each other. And what that meant was eventually I began to develop sores and it was not comfortable as you walked, So that for me was the pivotal moment. It was at that point when the sores started, I just began to feel very uncomfortable about myself, about my weight. And I knew that I needed to make a turning point. So that was it for me. It was at that point that I started, working on myself.
Right. I mean, the response is very loaded because it reveals how we perceive ourselves based on what people say. You basically put on weight because you were underweight and people were poking fun at you. People would also put on weight without intentionally wanting to put on weight like you were, because what they were teasing you about was your weight. But it could be that they're teasing you about something else or some issue has happened in life. And so you resort to food. And then food becomes a comfort. And then that's basically what makes people gain weight. And I'd really like to say that if you're out there and you are overweight, it's not a good place to be. And it's not to load on guilt, because you realize that one of the things that I keep mentioning is that in weight loss and in living healthy, you cannot have guilt. You don't have that feeling because it doesn't help you. As a Christian, I know that we are not under law, but we are under grace. And so even if you're not making it, there's no point feeling guilty about it, but it's about making the right decisions to go for it. So it's the answer. The response is very loaded because it shows many people's path to gaining weight. And then also that decision that, hey, this is the thing, I'm having sores, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I must do something about it. So my next question is, had you tried to lose weight before? This was your very first time you had decided to lose weight, obviously, because you were skinny before and you had gained weight. So this was your first time you had decided, and you tried it the first time and it worked. So you have the experience of having tried it and it didn't work, and you tried it again and it didn't work, or that was it for you?
I think prior to, that pivotal moment where there was a decision and there was a will, I think there had been pockets and instances of, appearing amongst friends and peers and looking at yourself and say, there's something wrong somewhere, with myself and with my weight, and the self-confidence and everything was affected. But I think even in those moments when one decided or when one thought, I need to lose weight, there was nothing drastic or even there was no decision, there was no will, there was no plan. It was just a thought that kept coming and going, at different moments in time, depending on the situation, the thoughts will come, I need to lose weight, but there was no effort and there was no plan. But I think this was a real shift where there was a plan, there was determination, and then there was action.
So I think that's what I want to delve in a little bit more, that Do you remember exactly where you were when you decided? Like, I remember, like, there are things that you decide in life, and you remember exactly where you were, and then also how, because the next question is, what approach did you take? Was it diet? Was it exercise? Was it mindset shifts? Or was it a combination? Like when you said you had a plan, you see, I always say that we're broadcasting this on Erama Medical, but it's not a secret that I'm a Christian and a pastor. So there's always going to be verses flowing left and right. And I believe,
Absolutely.
yeah, I believe that that's what's going to help you, because I that's what we provide, holistic health. I'm not just interested in, you come with your malaria, I'll give you medicine. I just want you to be well. And I believe that spiritual is very important. Um, the approach that you took, the Bible says that everything, and I quoted this last week with Pipin. I said I'll find the exact, it's actually on my wall at the hospital, so I should know exactly where it is. But it talks about plan carefully what you do, and whatever you do will succeed. And a diligent person, somebody who has a plan. And Jesus said, if you're going to follow me, you have to sit down and count the cost. If you're going to build a house, sit down and count the cost, because you don't want to start. You get to the middle somewhere. And every time I'm driving, I see a building that's not been built, my heart just breaks. I'm like, man, what a nice opportunity for this a house that's not being finished with years and years, because somebody didn't count the cost properly. So when you said you had a plan, I know that even if you had, let's say we backtrack how many years and you told me you had a plan, I could probably bet on you that you would succeed. So you could answer that question, basically the approach that you took, like how were you thinking? How did you know what to do, basically? And what approach did you take? Diet, exercise, mindset shift, or the combination of everything?
Absolutely. So I think there are three questions in there, and I'll take it from the first. Where were you at that point when you took that decision? I recall we were very young, yeah, just out of JSS and everything, and we had gone for Miss Dansoman. And this same friend,
what's that?
Yeah, it's like a beauty pageant for ladies in Dansoman to see. There's almost like a Miss Ghana, parallel for Dansoman. Yeah, so we had gone for that program, and this very friend who was competing with me when we were younger, overweight, she was the same person that I saw, and she was in this beautiful dress, and she was looking so slender and lovely. And that very picture that I showed to you, she was the one right next to me, and you could see how very different the two of us were.
So
and
you
I
need to send me back that picture with her.
I will.
Yes.
I'll do that. Yeah, but I looked at her and I looked at myself again. I was like, what happened? But yeah, so what did I do? It was definitely a combination of diets. There was exercise in there. There was a lifestyle change. I wasn't well informed on these things, but somewhat I kind of knew the things that I needed to cut back on. I kind of knew the things that I needed to change. So in terms of diet, I'm a fufu lover. Don't go there. I love my fufu. And I'll definitely have my fufu on the weekend, during the week whenever I needed to. And I just ate willingly and lovingly, and I'd be happy when I ate. But what I realized was I needed to cut out most of the food that I really did not need. When I took a step back after the exercise was done, after weight loss came through nicely and one was in shape and everything, I looked back and told myself I was eating a lot of food that I really did not need. So what that meant is I'm actually full, but because that food is available on my plate, I would finish it. And lots of lessons there. Don't take too much or don't take more than you need to take. All of those things come in there, but there was that on the diet. I cut out loads of carbohydrates, fats, and things like that. And I was on a regimen of fruits and vegetables, soups, salads, stews. I was in school. I was just a university level 100 student.
Right.
So salads weren't that available. But so long as I could make soup, I would make it and have soup and have fruits and have some vegetables. And that was how I ran my first year. I recall that I cut out fufu entirely for a full year, and they would laugh at me at home. I still needed to pound the fufu all the way back at Ashoman Estates where you also lived. I still needed to pound the fufu. But after pounding, I'll tell my mom, no, I'm not having fufu. And I'll just take the soup and after have oranges. And the family would just laugh at me. Like my siblings were calling me an orange tree. and a pineapple tree and everything, but it did something, and it did bring me to the point that I needed to get to.
Yeah, that's really an awesome. I mean, the determination is amazing, And yes, I said yesterday, last week when I was speaking with Kweku Samson, the same thing came up, and I remember he specifically said that people know what to do. You kind of instinctively know what to do, and on Judgment Day, I'm bringing Judgment Day in because people say that when I get there, I'm going to say that, oh, I didn't know, or we have this preconceived, if God asked me this, I'll say this, but we will know all. I think it's a scary thing if you've seen some of the things I've seen and experienced some of the things I've experienced. That you know what to do. But we make ourselves say, oh, I don't know, and I don't really know and I'm trying, I haven't lost the weight and all that. And I empathize, and that's why basically we're doing this series anyway. But it's also just to get you to be quiet and just to think through some of those things. I had a client the other day, and he came in and his HbA1c, which is the glycated hemoglobin, we use that to track diabetes, was raised. And he knew something was wrong in his body. So when it was raised, and I told him that, okay, here I could put your medication, but I'm going to give you 3 months to do the lifestyle. We're going to give you all the support you need. We're going to give you diet. We have a diet and foods outlet and all that. And in 3 months' time, I'm going to do this test again. He had to pass. He said, oh, I'll pass. Because I know exactly what the things I've been doing. I know. I know the things I've been doing. So he started mentioning what he does at night, how he has some sweets that he hides. And we do, So if we can even start with the things that so that's a real good response. So my next question is, what were some of the biggest challenges you made, to your daily habits? I think you've kind of answered that. Were there any myths or misconceptions about weight loss that you had to unlearn? Do you know if you had a response for that?
Yeah, I mean, myths, I'd say one of the things that I learned clearly, I think I mentioned that certainly in other responses, was I didn't need all that carbohydrates. Definitely, that was a great learning. And I also learned that so long as I was full, I didn't need to put more food into my body. Right. I learned to incorporate vegetables. I don't like vegetables. I'll be very honest and fair. I don't like vegetables. I do fruits any day. I blend them into juices and everything, but I don't like vegetables. But I had to make do with vegetables. And it just takes me back to somebody like Daniel. The Bible never talked about the fact that he was overweight or anything, but it said that he decided that he wasn't going to defile himself with the meat. That's the portion that the king was giving them. It was meat. He said he wasn't going to defile himself. Rather, he was put on lentils, or he put himself on lentils and vegetables and things like that. So for me, and yeah, like you say, we're Christians, we're on a journey with God. We're also trying to take care of our bodies and ourselves because he gave it to us. We need to be responsible, and we'll answer for however we took care of ourselves, and whatever kind of stewards that we were, we will answer for those. And so I bring Daniel into my world, and I ask myself, why did he need to even say that I won't defile myself with the king's meat? So there was something in there that I felt like I needed to learn. So vegetables, though I didn't like it, I began to embrace it little by little. And if it meant that I needed to salt a little, I mean, of course, it's vinegar and things like that you're using to wash, just so it could taste a bit more, calmly in your mouth, then I started, moving on those parts. And also in terms of maybe the last point would be, we cannot say a woman who is big is not beautiful. But I felt like I had acceptance of myself a bit more when I was able to work on myself. There was more confidence. Right. I felt like there was a glow which wasn't there. And it also brought me to that place where I'd have my quiet time and I'll ask for God's help and I'll ask for support. And wisdom was being thrown to me like every day. You see the foods, and there's a feeling. My husband will say, there's a feeling in the center of your chest that this one don't touch. Yeah, and I guess that was wisdom that God was just releasing into my heart. He says that he would give us wisdom, and it will be health to all our flesh, to be life to us and health to all our flesh. And I think I got that. So
Yeah.
I don't know whether that answers the question, but yeah.
It does. It does. We're talking about some of the misconceptions. And I think that when I was chatting with you earlier, you had mentioned something about exercise and your misconception about that when you try to begin to lose weight. Right. I don't know if you mentioned that right now. Do you want to mention that?
I did not mention that. So on exercises, this was a university student. Obviously, there were no gyms, available to us, and we didn't have the tools and devices that people would usually use, for exercising. And I also felt like, look, I still need to do something, regardless of the limitations that I currently have on hand. I don't have exercise bikes. I don't have all these things,
Right.
and so I devised for myself, and I looked at my weight and said, I'm much larger in the tummy to thigh area. And so maybe if I got movement in that section, then it just might help. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it. And I started little by little and tried about 20 of, just touching my toes and coming up, touching my toes, coming up. I'll do about 20 of those every time that I finished eating. And I'd go for lecture and everything. Then I increased to 50. Then with time I increased to 100. So there was nothing short of 100. Anytime that I ate, I would do some 100 of those and then go to the lecture hall and come back. On the reverse also, this was a time where, university students living at SNIT, we had a huge cook stand. There was bread available, hot, fresh bread available every day, every morning, afternoon, evening, hot. My goodness, my goodness. And you could smell it as you were sleeping, and wherever you were, you could feel it and you could smell, and you just wanted some of those. And we just grabbed bread and coke from the lecture instead of going into our rooms to find food from us. We had made food, but we won't go eat that food. We love the bread and the coke, and we'll grab the bread and coke. Yeah, and we'll go have, it was almost like fast food. Go have that quickly. The next 30 minutes, you're back to lecture. It was an easier life. Convenience, and convenience can put you in a place where you don't need to be.
Right.
So yeah, I think that just added to everything. I cut that out. I cut back on that. My exercising was important to me. And as I did those, I don't know whether they're stand-ups or sit-ups or whatever, till date, I've maintained that. Look, Dr. Cherish, if I look back and if you ask me now, if I had the exercise bikes, would it probably have helped compared with what I kind of innovated for myself? I think what I innovated for myself is more sustainable for me as a person. Because I needed to do something that I could keep up. And I'm not sure that I would have been on the exercise bikes all the time, even if that was available. So yeah, I needed to innovate, and I innovated, and it worked for me. And I've kept that up until date. Even when I had my 2 boys, my weight didn't increase. I was just where I was because I kept it up. I had CS. I was told, don't do anything until after 6 weeks. I respected that. After 6 weeks, I was back doing my exercises. And so my tummy didn't protrude. I didn't have the excesses and everything. And I felt like, look, God gave me wisdom to use what I had at the time. And it's worked.
Yeah. And it's being truthful. I mean, our aim at Erama Medical and supporting you, we know we are successful if we start you off and you're able to continue and do it. And so we try to get people to, and I speak with my dietitian all the time, so be realistic. I don't want anybody to come and tell me that, she gave me the diet thing, but I haven't done it. It's to be realistic. And know what works for you. There's when I did the interview with Mabna, that lady that Mabna is a fitness instructor, a coach that I work with. And she said, a lady was like, oh, I don't want to do crunches. I don't want to do crunches. She said, but you don't have to do crunches. There are other ways of losing the tummy. I need to go and speak to her because I still have a little bit of a pooch. It's not easy to lose the tummy.
It admittedly comes.
If you find what works for you and you are consistent, I think that I cannot overemphasize the point. It is the little daily habits that you are consistent with. And I clap for you, honestly, that you've been able to keep this up since university. So it's become like brushing of teeth, you know. There's something about being motivated. You start, but it's not motivation that keeps you. It's a habit. It just has become a habit. You brush your teeth, not because you feel like it every time, but you just do it. And so that's a great, great tip. All right. So my next question is, what were some of the hardest moments and how did you push through them? The hardest moments when you started. I think you've mentioned one, which is your family laughing at you. Hey, people laughing at you is one of the strongest demotivators in hey, you try doing someone, you will stop right now. You won't do it again. So let's mention one, because your family were not really supporting you, like, oh yeah, you are.
No, they didn't even know what I was doing. They didn't understand what I was doing.
And they were okay with you and your weight. Anyway, so what were some of the hardest moments and how did you push through them?
Yeah, I think for me the hardest moments were, when again, family, and even in school when friends, sat to have dinner, and I really would not partake fully in what was going on. And I know that there were many times where I really, really wanted to indulge. But I put myself on a regimen and I just felt that no, in the center of my chest, like, I just felt that deep, yeah, it was a voice. No, no, no. And so I just kept to myself and kept doing my vegetables and my soups and my stews. So it's come to stay. I do a lot more stew on my plate than you'd find carbohydrate. Like if I don't have enough vegetables or whatever, a lot more stew compared with the carbohydrate that's available to me. Yesterday we had fufu and I was with another CEO of another insurance company. And she said, oh, wow, the fufu is massive. I said, no, I'm not even doing like a quarter of that. And truly, by the time I was done, my soup was gone, but just a quarter of the fufu. But I felt full and I was happy, very full. And I was happy and I had my water and I was good throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I think that the hardest moments will always gnaw at us. They'll keep coming. It's challenging. Everyone is doing, but you know where you are with your regimen, you know where you are with your body. And I guess the good feeling in the body begins when you learn consistency. And it's also hard, but as you go along, it becomes easier. So I just want to promise everyone, once you start and once you're on a plan and once you are determined, it gets much easier and you flow. You just get, I know people say that they want to cheat a bit. So yesterday I had other ladies, there's a cheat week and everything. But I tell myself, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. So those are difficult moments. Yeah.
Because I think the concept of cheat week is to say that I'm really struggling. I'm really denying myself of things. And so this is the time where I can go and cheat. But I think that it's just to accept that this is my life now and I'm content. It gives you some inner contentment when you know that, no, I don't have, I've heard Joyce Meyer saying that I don't have to have the cupcake. Like, for crying out loud, I have self-control. I can say I will not have it. What is the thought that you have to have it? Why do I have to have a cupcake? I don't have to have it. I can have, whatever. So
Can I tell you what is wrong there?
Yeah. Go on.
It's just the availability of food and the fact that it's there. So we need to speak to ourselves. Consistently, we need to speak to ourselves and reassure ourselves that I don't need this.
Yeah.
I really don't need this. Though I want it, I don't need it. And if your body begins to respond to that voice, you're really able to keep yourself from indulging.
Oh, you broke up a bit. You said when your body begins to respond to that voice, then you broke up. Can you repeat that part?
Yes, when your body begins to respond to the voice, that inner voice that I don't need this, then you're really able to keep yourself from indulging, because now you're speaking to yourself. Your body is responding to the voice of your inner self, and then you know that I don't need this. And if you could rather have an apple, if you could rather have some watermelon, if you'd rather have some water even, and water is a fantastic plan, fantastic, like keeps you full. When my uncle used to deprive us of extra food when we were young, we thought he was just being a wicked man. But I've grown to learn But no, that was a really good one. And I tell my children sometimes, you don't have to eat till midnight. You've
Yeah.
eaten at 8 p.m. Go get water,
Okay.
and go to bed.
Yeah. And I have to say this because I really want to help women out there. And it would not be honest if I don't mention it. And that's why I keep mentioning verses and things, because I believe that that's where the real power and that's where the source of our life is. But I think people need to understand that we are spirits that live in a body and have a soul. And when you said your inner self, you're talking about the real you who is a spirit. And that spirit is aligned to the will of God. When we say we want to be successful in life, what are we saying? We want to achieve what it is that we were created in this life to do. And if you find what it is that God has given you to do, you will succeed. That's what he's created you to do. Unfortunately, many of us, we spend our lives doing other things because of influence from parents, influence from friends, whatever. Now, when you talked about the inner you, you're talking about your spirit man. If you're born again, that's aligned to the voice of God. Bible says that when we live in the spirit, it leads to life. But when we live according to flesh, that leads to death. There's a verse that also says that when we sow to the spirit, we reap life. And so when your spirit is telling, spirit man has the mind. Bible says that we have the mind of Christ when we are born again. So you do know, you can hear if you're quiet enough that that's okay. And it's a quiet voice, you see, but you have to trust it. The more you trust it, the stronger it becomes, the more you live by the spirit. And so I think that what you're saying is bringing out so many amazing things. I want to shift a bit to the emotional and the mental health impact of this weight loss journey. And I am saying that the habits that we have, the negative habits we have to go for the Coke, and we all have it, we all struggle with it from time to time, where it's like, I really know I don't need to have this Coke, but I really want to have it. If we sit down quiet enough, we realize that it's because you're stressed. It's because you are depressed and you want something to fix you up. And so one of the things that we offer at the hospital is something called a longevity package. And it is basically a combination of the medical, and I'm sure you mentioned at some point, but the medical aspect where you check maybe your cholesterol or your sugar control or something, your body composition analysis, your diet consults, a doctor speaks to you. And then we have the stress aspect and then the fitness aspect. Because I believe that if a person is not coping well with stress and their mental health is not where it's supposed to be, it will just not be a good time to start a habit. You will not be able to sustain it. So my first question on that topic is, how did your mindset and self-image change as you lost weight?
No, I think that number one, I had more confidence to do the things that I wanted to do, like go out, speak with people. In my world, you have to network necessarily for more business in my secular world. And even in church, we're choristers, we stand on stage and everything. And as the weight loss started happening, it was easier to fit in clothes. Because these ramps and these bumps that we have, even when we sit, you see the folds and everything. They kind of show up when you wear your choir clothes. And sometimes when you're in meetings and everything, you're standing, you're speaking to somebody, you really want them to listen to you. But now you're worried because you feel like, are they even listening to me, or they're looking at how big I am? So confidence was restored for me.
Right.
That's number one. And then I felt generally well. I felt healthier. And for me, that was a huge check, huge green check, that I felt well. And I always felt energized. I guess, and maybe that's something you doctors need to explain to us better. But the more I exercised, the more my inner feelings, emotionally, I felt better. Yeah. And I found that I was more able to deal with stress. I was more able to deal with the issues in my secular life. When my employees came and spoke to me about issues, once I'd had exercise, I'd had my quiet time, it was almost like these two areas of life just needed to be there. And I felt better in involving them in resolving issues, but when you're feeling cranky and when you're feeling, all unfocused in a certain sense, like your weight is telling, in the way you respond to issues, in the way you respond to, you know that you're becoming rude to people, you're not allowing people, to shine and to speak and to just be themselves and to have a voice. That's because your inner self is feeling bad enough, and it's beginning to reflect and bounce back to your interactions and your engagements and the way that you treat people. So in terms of emotional well-being and everything, I just found that confidence, and I had a better feeling within, and that began to reflect more positively with my engagement and interactions with people. And you see that the compassionate self that we need to be, like the compassionate aspects of our lives, just begins to show up. You are more compassionate with people. You empathize more with, like, a mother who's struggling. She's in traffic. She needs to be in the office by 9 o'clock. It's 9:30. She's not there. And you know that, hey, this happens. Let me cut her some slack. It doesn't come naturally, but it does come when there's that positive, self-reassurance that I'm good, I make mistakes, and I can easily be where this mother is. But I got that from quiet time, and I got that from daily exercises, knowing that I was feeling well, and I needed to help people reflect the same, positive feeling that I had. I don't know whether it makes sense. Sounds like a lot, but yeah.
It totally makes sense, at least to me. Because Samson mentioned how he said, oh no, I need to mention this. He felt that every time he did well, with his quiet time, it would be also easier for him to whatever. And the reverse, you see, the reason why I'm directing this to women is because I'm one, and I identify with what it means to be within that age range. And we do not prioritize ourselves. We prioritize everybody else, and we put ourselves last. And when we do that, we don't put ourselves in a place where we can give off our best. So you're not well, you see. So that's why you'll get cranky. That's why you'll snap at people, and people think you're a terrible person. They think you have anger issues, but it's because you are not well. Mentally, you're not well, and it's reflecting on your body, and then your body is also reflecting on your mental state, so you're not able to give off your best. I was listening to an interview where this lady, she's a doctor, but she emphasizes on muscle strength. She says the only muscle in your body that you can control is your skeletal muscle. So if you work on making it stronger, you'll be stronger. And I remember, what are we talking about? We're talking about
emotional well-being.
And she says that the reason why people don't lose weight is because, or they don't exercise, or they don't have healthy habits, because they don't think they are worth it. I thought about it very that she thinks it's about worth. She believes that it's, if you feel you are worth it, you will go through that extra, it's not like, well, I'm feeling lazy, I'm feeling tired. These are all things that we tell ourselves. But do you deserve to be well? Do you deserve to look good? Do you deserve to be, you understand? Do you deserve to wear nice clothes, to live in a nice house, to have a nice car? Yes, God's love is so enormous for you. Your value is based on God loving you. And so the decisions that we make to take care of ourselves first is not selfish, because you can have that mindset as well, that it's like, oh, I have to take care of the children and I have to do this. What time will I get to now exercise? Now what I do is, when I go for a walk in the morning, I take my phone with me, and I'm reading the verses and meditating. Some people can do their prayer walks, so I like walking. Like you said, you found something that works so quickly, because Samson said he likes swimming, so he just tied his exercise to that. But I think that what you're saying is very, very, very important, that if you can prioritize yourself and take care of yourself, you'll be a better person for others. And one of them is deciding to lose weight if you are overweight. At least that gives you something you are working on. There are people who are not overweight, but they are also not well. You're still not well. You're still not eating well. You're not sleeping well, and all of these things. So you can have another target of either. And I really like this body composition analysis we're doing at Erama Medical, because it tells you your muscle mass. It tells you your body, visceral fats around your organs, your fat percentage, and then your caloric rate. And I think there's something else, your BMI and whatever.
I need to come around.
Yeah. So even if you have a healthy weight, like I do, I think I'm right, like smack in the middle there. But when they checked my muscle mass, realized that my muscle mass is not in the good range. So I said, oh, okay. So if I focus on my muscle, and I'm talking about my push, my time, I'm sure it's coming from my baby butt belly.
Yeah.
And I work on that. I'm sure that by the time I check again, that muscle range will be getting better. And by the process of
Interesting.
me targeting the muscle mass, I would have included habits in my life that would affect. And I think nobody has achieved it when they we are talking about self-image. I think that everybody has more way to go. And you need to improve your self-image, able to do what God has called you to do. You can't be afraid. You can't be self-conscious. I've sent you with a message. You need to go and say it, and say it boldly, and do what God has called you to do boldly. All right. So I'm still under the emotional thing. I don't know if you haven't said it all already, but did you face any unexpected challenges, like how people treated you differently or how you saw yourself? And then how did you handle
Two,
setbacks? Okay, maybe answer
yeah.
that one first.
Yeah. Two notes there. I think the reactions, my mother, and then generally people. My mother always said to me, I mean, when she saw the weight loss, and we didn't even realize that this had happened, but I don't know whether I told the funny story of how I found out, because
Oh no, you haven't said it.
university girl, with at the time SNIT hostel, there was no, full length mirror. And so as I kept doing the regimen, I just got used to it and I wasn't measuring. I didn't know how well I was doing and everything. But we came home on vacation. I was in the same room with my elder sister, Genevieve. We came home on vacation, and day one, coming home, slept overnight, woke up and pulled this dress that I didn't take along with me to school. I wore it, and I was totally lost in the dress, but I didn't realize what had happened. So I started screaming, Jenny, I'm not well. I'm unwell. Jenny, I don't know what's happening. I'm unwell. And then she ran into the room. She asked me, what's the problem? I said, look at me. I don't know what's happening. So she held my dress from the back. And when I noticed that it was just a leaner version, or maybe a trimmed version of Leona in shape and everything, oh my goodness, you should have seen my joy and
Oh
how
my
much I
goodness, you didn't
screamed.
even
Yes,
realize.
this was,
Yeah.
I didn't realize, because there was nothing, you're in school, you don't carry all these devices along and everything. So I didn't know the effects but I become so used to what I was doing that there was no measurement, there was no plan.
I really
So
like
coming
that.
home, yes, coming home is when I actually found out that this had worked. And so that gave me more motivation. I recall that my mother, when she saw me, she's like, what is wrong with you? you know? And and she said to me, your chubby cheeks, your round self, everything is gone. Like, I like that version of you and everything.
Imagine.
But she looks at me today, every day, and she's like, oh, wow, I think you've done really well. Because as I grew, this is my mother speaking, as I grew, I realized the need for what you did earlier, although that wasn't called for at the time.
See?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she was laughing at me. She had laughed at me, and she said she loved my chubby cheeks and everything,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
later she's commending me and saying, hey, this is actually a good plan, because she's also had some health, challenges where she's been told watch your food and all of these things. So now she's saying you actually took a good step way ahead of, so yeah.
At that
Congratulations
time.
on that. And I guess when I think Kwaku Samson mentioned this as well, when you meet people who know you, have known you for years, like they go past you and come back like, is that you? Did you get unwell? What happened to you? That's common.
Ghanaians says, oh, you look nice. They're like, are you unwell? We still have that
Yes.
culture where when you are
Yes.
skinny or you're thinner or whatever, you're deemed to be, maybe you're not prosperous or
Struggling.
whatever.
You're
But
struggling in life.
Prosperity is in your soul. It's in your joy. It's in the energy that you have. What did you even say? You're talking about something that I thought was very important.
About realization of the effect, the impact.
Yeah. When you realize this suddenly, it shows that, and this is where this is my aim for people, that if you come to us for help or whatever, is that we want your focus not to be on the external, like, oh, have I lost weight? There's some when we've done research on weight loss programs that would say that check your weight every day. I don't think Kwaku Samson was checking it every day, I think. But for me, I wouldn't, just because I feel that I don't want my focus to be on the weight loss. It should be on the habits. It should be on how
healthy.
It should be on the energy. Something, and I did it. You see, when you plan to do something and you don't do it, your body doesn't. It's like you've made yourself not trust yourself. And just think about telling someone, I'll do this for you, and you don't do it. And then another time you don't do it. They will not trust you. And I think that's why it's impacts on your self-confidence and your self-image, because you're able to tell yourself you'll do something and you keep your promise to yourself. And I think that part and the spiritual aspect and the mental aspect should be more of our focus. And so I think that you kind of put the habits in place and you just kept going, you're doing your things. And the way it happened by itself, you see. So I like that aspect, even though it was because you were in school and you didn't have the gadgets. Okay. So our time is almost up, but we want to talk about keeping the weight off. And I think you've answered that. What was the hardest part about maintaining your weight loss? Have you found a new approach that works for long term? You've answered that. What do you do when you feel tempted to go back to it? I think you've answered all of that. It's just because you put in the habits and that habit is working for you. I think nowadays we hear a lot about passive income. Do something for passive income, do something, maybe put a book online, and then while you're sleeping, to be making money for you. Those kind of things are attracting people now. But it's like passive income. When you put in that habit, you now don't have to think about the effects of it. You now have the good health, the weight loss that you want and all that. So that's really awesome. So what's next for you in terms of your health and fitness goals?
Yeah, really good question. Really, really good question. So now at the age of, and I think when we come to that age where we have traveled to 40 and beyond, it goes beyond all the things that have been successful for me and how I've actually been able to achieve that. In the past year, I've been to the hospital a lot and I've seen a lot that I didn't expect to see. And it speaks to me volumes. I speak about my mother as well. And I'm telling myself that now one needs to put in more than one had done, which is essentially to say that this is the age where it's more difficult to keep off, bad habits if they do creep in. This is the age, and this is the time when the body is not as effective in terms of its metabolism. It's not as effective as it used, unless you have extra going on for you. So for me, it's about all these things that you talk about. How do I get on things like detox? I've never done a detox, interestingly, never. But I've practiced a lot of intermittent fasting. So in the day, I do like one carbo diet, and the rest is like fruits and veggies, and I'm fasting through and everything, all those things. But I feel like now I need a medical angle to everything that I'm doing. I don't check my weights ever. I don't recall the last time I checked my weights. It's been like probably a year, so all those things, putting that regimen into my life is where I feel like I need to start traveling towards, so that it's a conscious understanding of where I am within the body, not necessarily outside of the body, but within the body. And I think that it's really a good time as you do these podcasts and speak to women. It's really a good time to try and find time, just pass through your medical center and just understand where I am and where I need to travel to. So that for me is really the next step.
Exactly. Because you have scientific or something that's a bit more tangible, like you have numbers. So it shows, it's a picture of your health, at least. Know whether you have high cholesterol, know whether your sugar control is working, know what your muscle mass is, whatever. Let us give you a report, and then you decide what to do with it and say, hey, can you sign me up? I'm going to be coming up with some challenge for April, like a 28-day challenge. Maybe sign me up for that, where we're going to be checking the number of steps we do a day. We're going to give ourselves maybe 3 times where we do this chair sits, whatever. I'm going to let Mabna and probably Andrina give us something that's very simple, but at least it will start off our habits for the consistency. And then say, hey, maybe I want to join that to start me off. Just a booster.
Yeah. A booster.
So any final words? We'll come to the end. Any final words of encouragement for people listening who might be on the same path?
Yeah, maybe my final words are just that every woman out there and every woman who dares to have it, you can do it. You can bring yourself to that healthy place that you need to be at. You need to speak to yourself. and you need to be responsible for yourself. I go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 4, where it talks about us being stewards. God has given us these bodies, and we are stewards of our bodies. We need to take care of ourselves, and one day we'll be accountable for how we did it. And so I'll just share with you, let's be focused, let's be determined, and let's do it. Let's actually take the step and do it. If we need to see people like Erama, we need to see, we do our medical annual health checks. Let's do them. Let's know where we are. And let's be a bit selfish to say, I'll take care of myself and I'm going to do it. It's possible. Let's do it. Thank
Something
you.
like good selfish, because like we said, you take care of yourself first. But thank you so much, Leona Abban. Phenomenal story. This has been very, 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 very revealing. I was saying that, do I want to do another health journey interview, because I've just done one, but I think that everybody is different, and so it makes us learn different things. We learn so much. We think we're talking about weight, but we're really talking about a person's inner why and what will make us successful and all that. So it's been a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure we'll call you back, when we're having our something about our successes and our heroes. We'll call you back. And also we'll have something where we have women on who have signed on with us who want to do the weight loss, and so they can ask you questions directly and you can inspire them for us. So thank you so much. Have a lovely
Thank you, Dr. Cherish. It's been lovely speaking with you, and thank you. Bless you. Take care.
Bye. So thank you all very much for watching this podcast. By watching it, you've taken a step in the right direction in trying to get your life back, having control over your health, the health habits, and becoming more consistent in the habits that you're developing. If you need help, we are always available. We'll start you off so that we can put in place something that you can take along for the rest of your life. And reach out to us. We'll display our numbers on the screen, but it's 020-250-0171. Erama Medical is located in Safumono Estates, and we service the Teshi, Tema, Spintex, that should be areas and beyond. If you're looking for a hospital, that's the best hospital in the area, you can come to us. We offer GP services, as well as specialist services, antenatal, theater services. It's a full-fledged, lovely hospital. It's the best kept secret in Safumono. You need to come find us. So until next time on our Health, Beauty, and Purpose podcast, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Share this with friends. Honestly, share this with friends who need the help, who need to start thinking about living healthier. There are people who don't think about this or do anything about their health until it's too late, when they develop the hypertension, the diabetes, or even develop the stroke because they never picked up the hypertension or the diabetes. We are here to help you. We're here to save lives. Join us by subscribing to this channel, going on our Facebook page, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages, making a comment. You are supporting what we're doing. We are saving lives. Join us to do that. And so until next time, this is Dr. Cherish. Have a lovely day.